All right, pounded through that. Let's see here. Oh, whoa. We got all kinds of wobble. Definitely some movement. Still engaging, but there's definitely a lot of play now where there was not before. So what's it going to take to cause that to happen, and will the triad hold up to that same abuse? What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another blade review. And I know that this is a very anticipated video. This is the newest locking mechanism that Cold Steel has released, and I went over to Blade HQ recently, picked this guy up, paid about $165 for it, so that's going to be about the going rate. So if this knife connects with you, and I know they have a lot of other Atlas designs with this new lock coming down the line in different blade steels, different options. So throughout this video, if this blade or other options make sense, I do appreciate when you use all those hyperlinks that I offer to you below. Helps me go out there, literally buy gear like this to be able to test and have a thorough review with you guys. We are going to do some harder tests on the triad locking mechanism from Cold Steel, which for years from my own experience, I'd argue is the, if not one of the strongest locking mechanisms, and one of the ones I trust the most just when I'm going out there using my blades and I know I need a super hard use folder. I usually gravitate to my triad in some form of a triad. So we'll run in the Recon one a little bit later and do some hard testing with it compared to this Engage and its Atlas lock. And that is kind of the kicker, right? So I might as well just jump right in with that first before we break down any other attributes of the blade. This is a dual stop pin in conjunction, I believe, with like a stop bar, however you would want to, identify that design. No other design on the market that I'm aware of uses two. So one is exposed and one is inside recessed with the locking bar. So this swings open, engages. You can see good tolerances there. Comes right up against it, giving it dual strength, if you will. Now, the cut-in right here allows access to the nice thick bar right there. And the spine on this particular design is 0.15, and there's actually a micron larger of this. So this is about a 0.16 thick piece of metal right there that is encapsulating and moving back and forth and actuating the strength of the tool. It does have a fully encapsulated spring in there that gives you the tension. Hopefully you can see that in there with that bar moving back and forth, and it's nice and snappy. So it's a strong spring, but you don't see the spring. So it's encapsulated to keep debris and things like that from getting in there, inside and housed inside this housing there, basically. So you literally just pull back, and that's gonna drop that blade, and it's just so smooth. And it's gonna go right into place, and then you can just pull back and release, and it's gonna snap in and catch the blade and hold it into place. And you can literally let the gravity do the work for you, and it is fun. It's fun to play with. It's very fast to manipulate. The detent is good, but I can whip that thing open and then close that thing. We're gonna do, again, hard, beating on. We're gonna baton through some wood and slam on the spine and do some, spine thwacks and stuff like that in a little bit. But I do have slight rock side to side, but zero up and down. I mean, this is very, very solid. And basically the tolerances side to side feel exactly the same on this Triad Recon. So it feels exactly the same tightness, just pure functionality. It's a lot of fun, and it functions very well. And I think it's a great addition to the market. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, I don't know about this. Now, ergonomically, what about that, right? Okay, so the functionality seems to be there, the tightness, the how it operates, and it's just a fun and gives you this, whipping action that we really haven't had on Cold Steel knives before. They've been more beefy and robust and boom, like a drawbridge, and then boom, back in place. This is much more like wee, and let's have some fun, and I'm just gonna play with this thing all day and really irritate my significant other like this. So, the one thing that I noticed, we got really good jimp on there. The sides are not milled, and so you are going to feel a little bit of wear on your finger. It bites in good without it being aggressive on the actual jimp portion from what I noticed. It hasn't worn my finger. I just noticed it. I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's a little bit sharp on the angles because it's just a full like jimp, and no rounding, caressing and molding on these little tiny transitional points right there on either side. So just a quick data point for you. Now, the other attribute that I was really curious about and is like ergonomics. We have this big cutout, right? I mean, that's where my palm is. How do the ergonomics work when I'm gripping and grabbing the tool? Do I have this sharp feeling in my hand? There's this big, huge, wide gap. You know, how does it work? And there it goes right there in the meat of your hand. And when I do a hammer grip, which is where you would probably notice it the most, if you hand it to me and I was like, yep, there you go, it feels like my Recon. Right there. That, and me holding that, it does not create, even though the gap is there and in my mind is telling me, hey, there's a gap there. It's not this like, ooh, and my hand is trying to like fill out that gap just because of where your hand rests naturally in a hammer grip. And that edge doesn't seem to grab or cause any, you know, undue hot spots. And then particularly if you do this, you actually, you know, a lot of us would put our thumb right there and then begin to use the tool. Your hand isn't even touching the bar. So, I mean, ultimately, it'll be your choice to get your hands on and go like, do I really like that? For me, I'm absolutely using and have been enjoying carrying and doing harder, longer cuts with this tool, which I was very on the fence about. I was like, I don't know how this mechanism is going to feel in the palm of my hand. Just where they placed it, it doesn't create an issue for my hands. Now, that's another thing that we'll go into just with ergonomics. This is pretty, even though it seems kind of compact, I noticed right away, this is a beefy blade. It's 6.5 ounces, so it's on the heavier end for a 3.5-inch knife. But we know that with like the AD, you know, series, blades like that. But, you know, your Recon will be about, I can't remember. I think it's about an ounce lighter. You know, cold steel Recon with the no liners in there and, you know, a 4-inch blade, it's going to be a little bit lighter by about an ounce. Now, something that I noticed is the thickness. The thickness is definitely slimmer. I was really expecting something more like the Bushranger series. For some reason, I was like, I think it's going to be pretty fat, you know, in the hand. It is not. It is slim, so it is designed for definitely more the EDC roll and is much more on par with the Recon, and that's why we're going to be using it today. And in fact, it's the exact same thickness as the Recon 1. So that was something that I noticed right away as well, that I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is definitely more of like a slimmer pocket knife. It's not going to just be this monster brick, thick and fat, even though it is heavy in your hand. Now, it does have steel liners there that have been milled. So this has extra strength on top of that G10 that they have smooth texture on the sides, giving me a little bit of ribbing right there, and then all the way around. So very nice to see that. So this is a very tough, they really want, from what I can tell, they were like, we want to make this knife tough. If you have extra large, it'll probably fit. If you start getting into like, you just got beefy, thick, fat hands, you might start to kind of find yourself coming off the lip. But for me, no problem there. It does have a finger choil. I don't think that's necessary. It's not, I mean, if I'm doing woods work, I feel very in control, very comfortable. And so it does give me that, reminds me a little bit of like some Spydercos, you know, like a Manix 2, which I love, you know, or something like that. I think the tool could have just come all the way back or, you know, just brought it in right there. But I think because of, as an example, going back to the Bushranger, it has so much of a cut in there that I can basically put my finger there and use it as a choil. They've decided, let's just make it a dedicated choil. Some of you will find that irritating. Some of you are going to freaking love it. Even with that nice cut in there, right there, that is perfectly designed for my thumb to rest. And now I have super good control over the cutting edge, which is about 3.12 and then 3.5 from the handle. So you're getting just over 3 inches on that blade. S35 VN, still made in Taiwan, which is excellent. I'm so glad they're still making a lot of their products over in Taiwan. Please keep that up. Cold steel. That is awesome that we get to support our allies, and it always gives me just an extra layer of confidence when I'm buying something that's made in Taiwan. So super cool. S35 VN, excellent steel, you know, going to hold its edge really well. Good edge geometry, high saber grind, again in that 0.15. So it's a thick, good swedge. Just a great utility shape. It's a very, very good utility shape. Slices well. Obviously a thin, full flat will like zip through stuff a little bit quicker, but this is a very good, excellent edge geometry, slicing through the stuff that I put it up against, can do a fuzz stick no problem, and still gives me a good strong tip for stabbing and piercing, and just the blade shape is really good. Really like that. I love to see a blacked out, similar to, where did my Recon go? version, I think that would be awesome to go with like the premium S30V. That would be a lot of fun, and I think really good to see down the line. 90-degree spine, so you could throw a spark if you want to off that back spine as well. On the back end, loop over. I think this might be the first loop over from Cold Steel. I'm not sure. To my knowledge, I don't think they have another loop over off the top of my head. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Loop over, deep ride pocket clip, ambidextrous. So again, fully ambidextrous blade, righties and lefties. You will enjoy it. Real good tension. Really happy with that. No recessed screws. That's the only thing. It's like wham, wham. It's fine. I mean, you know, it's got a pretty good size there, but still does not cause an issue. Again, with the ergonomics, and they've milled the clip, and you could rotate it, which is also nice. So now just straight up strength. That's what we're gonna do. Now, Cold Steel has tested the triad locking mechanism at over 720 pounds, I believe, and it keeps on ticking. They have done the same with the Atlas, and it keeps on ticking. So strength-wise with their weight drop tests and things like that seems to be very impressive. I'm just gonna do some basic thumping on with these just to kind of see if we notice any out of the gate issues and how it does really stack up with my testing compared to a triad with this Atlas lock. I might have disengaged that actually. Okay, we definitely have some massive play and a slight wobble right there. Rock solid, baby. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. All right, so now I'm just gonna disclaimer again, you should not ever be doing this with a pocket knife. Most other pocket knives I own would totally fail, explode, break, you know, damage, looseness all over the place. You know, so you should never be doing this with any type of pocket knife. But what we're seeing here with the Atlas lock is I definitely have quite a bit of play there. And it seems to, like, over time, I've played with it a few times here, there. You can see it almost like tightens up a little bit. So, I mean, definitely something got loose, something, you know, isn't seating like it should, but it still functions. It still absolutely functions, and if I had to, in a pinch, I could keep using the knife. Now, again, you can just see that massive wobble. So, then off of, again, the same bundle of wood, same exact type of pounding, exact amount, we have no wobble, nice and tight, and just as strong as pre-test strength on the triad. So it's probably because there's just less moving parts in the triad than there are in the Atlas. And again, and they have done shock tests and they seem to work well, but on pure hanging, it, you know, compares. But on, at least in my model with shock tests, there's definitely something loosened or not fully engaging anymore on the Atlas lock. So still, the benefit to me for this design is just the functionality. You're still getting a lot of strength, but it's so fast, so fun. You know, in that same vein of, you know, say like any sort of pivot crossbar type of lock, like the Axis lock. Now we have that with super, still very strong, but if you're looking at just pure strength, I would still, if I had to be an idiot with my pocket knife, go probably with the triad. That's from my experience, my testing here, but I'm not down on the Atlas, and if anything, it still is super reliable in the sense of just functionality, strength, and only if you're going to be just just trying to destroy the knife, maybe you start to see a little bit of play. So yeah, I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts. What's your take on the Atlas lock, particularly if you own one already? And you know, does it make sense for you? Do you like what the direction that Cold Steel is going with this design, or not? And I look forward to seeing all of the comments in this comment section below. And check out the other video popping up. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. Doing tests, videos, breakdowns of gear and your favorite blades week in, week out. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.